I think a quorum is present, so I think we'll begin because there will be votes soon. We're undoubtedly going to have to take a recess to vote and then come back because I think the votes are likely to be very soon. This organizational meeting of the Committee on Energy and Commerce will now come to order. Let me welcome all members to the first meeting of the Committee of the 116th Congress, and we meet today to introduce new members of the committee, to adopt committee rules for governing our procedures, and approving committee and subcommittee chairs and ranking members and subcommittee member assignments. I want to thank all my colleagues for being here today, and I look forward with every member of this committee as we collectively work to enact policies that build a stronger economy, create good-paying jobs, combat climate change, protect consumers from skyrocketing costs, and conduct vigorous oversight. And personally speaking, this is a very big day for me, my family, and my district. It's my 31st year in Congress. I don't like to admit it, but my first year serving as chairman of what is the best committee within the U.S. House of Representatives. And I believe the best committee in the whole Congress. I'll add the other body as well. I remember when I first came to Congress and I stepped into this hearing room to watch a committee hearing, I was looking for the committee where I wanted to serve and where I could best serve my constituents, and I knew almost instantly that this was the committee for me. After all, there's no other committee that has a greater impact on the everyday lives of our constituents than the Energy and Commerce Committee. It was clear to me then, and it still is today, that this committee's jurisdiction is centered at the crossroads of most of the significant policy areas that Congress considers, from ensuring access to affordable health care, to ensuring people can breathe clean air and drink clean water, to ensuring that people have access to the internet. The policies we debate and the actions we take are important to protecting and improving the lives of all Americans. And this committee is going to put consumers first, fighting to lower health care, prescription drug, and energy bills. We want to ensure all Americans have access to affordable and quality health care, safe drinking water, high-speed internet, and a cleaner environment. And we'll also strengthen our economy by rebuilding America and combating the growing threat of climate change. As a committee, we're all proud of our record of bipartisan accomplishments. I stress the bipartisan, and I hope that we'll be able to work together to find bipartisan solutions on these and other important issues. In addition to taking up important policy issues, we'll also reassert Congress's oversight authority as part of the independent, co-equal legislative branch of government. The committee will conduct vigorous oversight so Washington works again for the people, not the special interests. We'll hold the Trump administration accountable for the cost of its culture of corruption that hurts regular Americans and undermines critical health, environmental, and consumer protections. And congressional oversight is essential to ensuring that our laws are being implemented appropriately by the executive branch. So I hope that we'll have a partner in these efforts with our ranking member to assert the power of this committee and this institution. Now, at this time, I want to introduce our new Democratic members, and then I'll ask our ranking member to introduce the Republicans. Allow me to welcome and introduce the 8 new majority members of the committee. We truly have an all-star lineup of new members. They're going to bring great new ideas and energy to the committee. I'm just going to say a little bit about each of them. First is Mark Veazey, who represents Texas's 33rd Congressional District, which includes parts of Fort Worth and Dallas. Mark has been a staunch supporter of creating jobs and ensuring access to quality health care. To his right is Annie Kuster from New Hampshire. She's been at the forefront of combating the opioid epidemic on behalf of her constituents of New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District. Annie has also fought to protect important programs such as Medicare and medical research funding for diseases that affect our seniors. To Annie's right is Robin Kelly, who represents parts of Chicago and Illinois' 2nd Congressional District. She reminded me today that it's not just Chicago, it's actually other suburban towns beyond Chicago. She's been committed to improving the health and wellness of vulnerable communities, as well as finding ways to end the gun violence crisis in our country. And to her right is Nanette Barragan, who champions environmental and health justice for her constituents in California's 44th District. Throughout her career, Nanette has stood up to polluters and worked to eliminate racial health disparities. Next to Nanette, to her right, is Donald McEachin, who is an environmental leader who represents Virginia's 4th Congressional District, which encompasses parts of the capital of Richmond and Hampton Roads. During his time in Congress, he co-founded the United for Climate and Environmental Justice Task Force, and he'll be a strong voice on climate change. And to his right is Lisa Blunt Rochester, Delaware's lone representative in the House, next to New Jersey, of course, so I have a fondness for Delaware. As a healthcare leader both in Delaware and here in the House, she will play a role in ensuring we provide all Americans access to quality and affordable health care. And to Lisa's right is Darren Soto, who represents Florida's 9th Congressional District. Darren is a strong environmentalist and led opposition to the president's proposed plan to allow drilling off Florida's coastline. I don't know if he wants me to say it, but I'm going to. He's actually a native of New Jersey, and he is a graduate of Rutgers in my district, so I'm particularly fond of him, too. And finally is Tom O'Halloran, who represents Arizona's 1st Congressional District, which includes Flagstaff. Tom has been a strong advocate for advancing policies to strengthen our economy, which will be critical as we prepare to move a comprehensive infrastructure package. So I want to congratulate each of them and their families. We look forward very much to working with them on this committee. And now I want to recognize my friend, the ranking member, Mr. Walden, for an opening statement. And then I guess you're going to also introduce your members, too, at this time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on taking the helm of the powerful and effective Energy and Commerce Committee. I look forward to working with you. And I want to welcome members of both parties who are joining the committee for the first time. You're truly fortunate to be on what I would concur is the greatest committee in the Congress. I want to take a moment to welcome our new member. We only had one vacancy in this go-around. We hope that changes in the future. But that would be the gentleman from Montana, Greg Gianforte. He's the newest Republican addition to the Energy and Commerce Committee and has an incredible background in computer science, electrical engineering, and technology, and was a very successful entrepreneur and business owner, and a really good addition to the Energy and Commerce Committee. And also, what a great name, Greg. You know, kind of has a nice ring to it. So last Congress, I was humbled to serve as the chairman of the committee. It truly is the best committee on the Hill. While Republicans and Democrats certainly had policy disagreements and we engaged in healthy debate last Congress, I'm proud that together we continued a strong energy and commerce tradition of producing bipartisan legislative solutions to the problems that face Americans. Just in the last Congress, this committee held up 180 hearings, furthering this committee's reputation as a workhorse. 96% of the bills we reported out of this committee received bipartisan votes. And of the 148 Energy and Commerce Committee bills that passed the House, 93% of them received bipartisan votes on the House floor. And as a result, 57 of our pieces of legislation became law. And I think we should take into account that one of those contained about 60 bills. If you think about the opioids bill, it got combined into one after we passed 60 bills out of here, and we know the other chamber has difficulty taking up any bill, let alone 60, so that's part of that 57. We are able to work together to enact major legislative initiatives, such as the Support for Patients and Community Act to combat the opioids crisis, Ray Baum's Act to reauthorize the Federal Communications Commission, something that hadn't been done in nearly 3 decades. The FDA Reauthorization Act to bring new drugs and generic alternatives to market more quickly. And we reauthorized the EPA's Brownfields program and the Safe Drinking Water Act, among others. We also worked together to advance critically important legislation through the House, such as the Self-Drive Act, first of its kind legislation to ensure safe and innovative development, testing, and deployment of self-driving cars, as well as the work that Mr. Shimkus and others did on the Nuclear Waste Policy Amendments Act, which passed the House with 340 votes, but unfortunately did not make progress in the Senate. We also conducted rigorous oversight of the roots of cause of the opioid crisis. We held major tech companies accountable before us, and we investigated everything from issues surrounding prescription drug prices to sexual abuse within Olympic sports to the cybersecurity challenges facing our country. 2 years ago today, when we organized the committee, I made a commitment to continue the bipartisan legacy of the previous chairman, my good friend Fred Upton. I think we have a great opportunity before us to continue this same bipartisan record of success and accomplishment that I know Chairman Pallone shares in his commitment to this committee's work, and the achievements of the last Congress could not have happened without him. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we thank you. Congratulations to you and your members. Our side looks forward to working together in this new Congress. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. Let me say that they called the votes, I guess it's about 14 minutes. If any other member would like to be recognized, this is the time to do so, although I'm trying to move along. But if anybody else, all right. All right, then let's move to committee business. All right. Pursuant to Clause 2A of House Rule 11, the first order of business is the adoption of the committee's rules of procedure for the 116th Congress. A copy of the proposed rules has been distributed to each committee member in advance. The chair has a resolution at the desk and asks the clerk to report.
A resolution offered by Mr. Pallone. Be it resolved by the Committee on
Without
Energy and
objection,
Commerce.
the reading of the resolution is dispensed with, and the chair recognizes himself briefly for 5 minutes. I asked my staff to take a close look at the committee rules with fresh eyes, and they did. I and my staff have discussed extensively with Ranking Member Walden's staff the changes we're proposing to the committee's 116th Congress rules. Mr. Walden and his staff have been helpful and constructive, particularly at explaining their concerns as to the potential effects of the proposed rules. We retained practically all the committee's rules from the last Congress after determining that they continue to enable orderly and transparent committee operations. So this resolution makes very few changes from the rules that the committee operated under during the last Congress. The most significant change to the committee's rules pertains to the notice requirement for all committee meetings and markups. House Resolution 6, which contains the House rules for the new Congress and was passed on January 3rd, changed select House rules to promote regular order and accommodate more ideas for committee and chamber consideration. One of the specific ways the new House rules do that with respect to committees is to modify the 3-day notice requirement for committee markups and business meetings. It specifies that Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, except when the House is in session on those days, do not count towards fulfillment of the 3-calendar-day notice requirement. We also sought to reduce some of the displays of gender biases appearing in the committee rules, mostly in relationship to the committee and subcommittee chairmanships. To do that, we counterbalanced the extensive and exclusive use of the words chairman and he or him, or the possessive pronoun him, by adding feminine pronouns and feminine possessive pronouns such as she, her, and hers. We've also adhered to a policy that permits member participation at subcommittee hearings, even if they are not members of that subcommittee. What the protocol allows is for non-members of a subcommittee to attend that subcommittee's hearings. On securing unanimous consent, those non-members are able to participate in the hearings by asking questions, but only after all members of the subcommittee have been recognized to ask their questions. In addition, as provided for in the House rules, all members of the House are entitled to non-participatory attendance at committee and subcommittee hearings, which means that non-committee members may attend our hearings, but they cannot participate in our hearings through recognition to speak or by asking questions. Now, the Republican minority has raised some concerns regarding the scheduling of meetings and the chairman's authority to postpone meetings and mark up votes. With respect to scheduling meetings, to the maximum extent possible or feasible, I will try to avoid scheduling committee markups on days and at times that conflict with Democratic caucus meetings, Republican conference meetings, other leadership functions, and other committee events. In relation to postponing votes, a new rule in the 115th Congress, that's the last Congress, gave additional flexibility to committee chairs to postpone votes, provided they consult with their committee's ranking member. So it's not our goal or our objective to exercise this authority imprudently or unfairly. Instead, this authority should be used to increase the chair's flexibility to manage and conduct committee business as efficiently and productively as possible. So I pledge to our ranking member to work closely with him in determining a time to resume proceedings on a postponed manner, and that I will use my authority judiciously and fairly. The last rules-related point that I will raise before yielding to our ranking member deals with bipartisan amendments. While it has not been a committee rule per se, another tradition that I'm extending is priority recognition at markups of bipartisan amendments. That practice, which has been in effect for the past 5 Congresses, has been an effective incentive to members to work together across the aisle. These sorts of working relationships should be promoted as often as possible using parliamentary avenues. And with that, I would now yield to Mr. Walden and recognize you for 5 minutes to speak on the rules.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And these rules look an awful lot like what we passed last time, and we, for the most part, have no objection to them, obviously. The committee has a proud record of conducting bipartisan oversight and investigations. We've been at our best, and the committee has been at its strongest when we've worked together on those issues. Work on opioids, including investigations in the manufacturing and distribution of opioids, and abuse in the Olympic community are just a couple of examples. Our oversight work greatly improves our legislative efforts. Can the chairman commit to including the minority, the Republicans, as the committee conducts its oversight work, such as offering Republicans an opportunity to attend briefings, interviews, and depositions, to co-sign letters, and to receive copies of responses to such letters?
Well, Mr. Walden, as I stated in my opening statement, this committee is the best in Congress, and a part of that is because of the bipartisan work we've been able to accomplish over the years. Oversight is one example of that bipartisanship, so I am confident that that will continue. In fact, later today, we will receive a bipartisan briefing from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on the spread of Ebola in Africa, and we did invite the minority to that briefing. However, there will inevitably be times during this Congress where we will end up being on different sides of an issue, and then we'll have to likely part ways. But that being said, what this committee has always done best is to able to continue to work on other important issues even when we're at odds over different items. In previous Congresses, while the majority undertook investigations into the ACA, we were still able to collaborate on other investigations like the opioid epidemic and the Volkswagen issues. So my hope is that we both commit to working in a collegial way to fully exercise the oversight jurisdiction of our committees.
Well, I appreciate that. It is much different than the colloquy script I was given to work off of, but I think you said everything that was here. So okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not that we're pre-programming any of this, mind you. I don't want to speak for former Chairman Upton, but I certainly I look forward. We're just going to throw that in the trash. Look, I think the key here is every opportunity we have where our committee is strengthened, the People's House is strengthened when we do work together, especially on oversight. And I know Mr. Gett and I had the great opportunity with Mr. Stupak and others to work on oversight together. We obviously recognize there will be some partisan forays out there. Got that. I hope that's minimized, and I think we have a commitment and understanding that will be the case, but we recognize the political dynamics here. But the more we can work together without surprise and jointly, the stronger we'll be, and it'll be better for the country.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wall.
I think I'm supposed to ask you about subpoenas as
well.
Go ahead. The committee rules authorize the chairman to issue subpoenas after and to the extent practical consultation 72 hours in advance of issuance between the Republican leader of the committee and the chairman. And written notice must be provided to committee members no later than 1 week from the date of issuance. The subpoena power obviously is one of Congress's most important tools for collecting information it needs to legislate effectively. In my experience, the mere threat of subpoena is often sufficient to get Congress the information that it needs. However, as with all governmental authorities, the subpoena power should be used thoughtfully to avoid abuse. The current committee rule was written in the 114th Congress. Then Chairman Upton used his authority 5 times during that Congress. I used the authority just once during the entire 115th Congress. In each case, the subpoena was either requested by the witness, a so-called friendly subpoena, or authorized only after extensive attempts to gather the information from the witness and being denied said information. So my question, Mr. Chairman, will you commit to taking reasonable steps before resorting to the subpoena authority, such as building a committee record on the matter by requesting voluntary briefings, interviews, and information requests, and negotiating with objects of the subpoena so that it can be tailored to the committee's specific needs?
I think that's reasonable, and I intend to follow the rules set forth in our committee rules with respect to subpoenas.
So will the chairman commit to taking reasonable steps, including a face-to-face conversation, phone call, or email to consult with me at least 72 hours before issuing a subpoena?
Yes, indeed.
And to provide the required notice to members after issuing a subpoena?
Absolutely.
So help me God. Thank you. It feels like an oath. But, you know, I think these are good to get on the record. I think it's important for the functioning of the committee when things do get heated that we have these understandings going in for both sides. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, the Republicans are prepared to support the rules package, and I yield back.
All right. Does anyone else want to be recognized to discuss the committee rules of procedures? No? Are any amendments being offered to the resolution on the committee rules? All right. Hearing none, I move that the proposed rules be adopted as the rules of the Committee on Energy and Commerce for the 116th Congress. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the proposed rules are adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. The rules adopted by the Committee on Energy and Commerce for the 116th Congress will be published in the Congressional Record and made available to members and the public on the committee's website. We still have a lot more to do, but we only have 4 minutes left, so we will recess at this time.
Oh, we do have more to do.
You have to come back. Yeah, please come back.
We couldn't do that before we...
The committee will reconvene. I don't think we're going to be here long, but we do have some business to do. The first is the adoption of a resolution establishing jurisdiction of the subcommittees. So we'll consider a resolution. There's a resolution at the desk, and I would ask the clerk to report.
House Committee on Energy and Commerce, 116th Congress Subcommittee Jurisdictions and Ratios.
And without objection, the reading of the resolution is dispensed with, and I recognize myself briefly. The respective jurisdictions of the subcommittees set forth in the resolution are identical to the resolution that we considered in the last Congress. Is there any further discussion on the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, the Republicans are prepared to accept the resolution.
Thank you, thank you. The vote will occur on the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes have it, and the resolution is agreed to. Now we're going to announce the subcommittee chairs, the ranking members, the subcommittee member assignments, and I will, I think it's all been distributed, the full committee members, and each of you should have all that. But it's probably a good time to point out, as part of the resolution on subcommittees we're presenting, that 2 subcommittees have been renamed. The jurisdiction hasn't changed, but they've been renamed. So the Subcommittee on Digital Commerce and Consumer Protection is changed to the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce, and the Subcommittee on Environment is changed to the Subcommittee on Environment and Climate Change. The chairs of our subcommittees are as follows. Representative Bobby Rush from Illinois will chair the Subcommittee on Energy. Representative Anna Eshoo from California will chair the Subcommittee on Health. Representative Diana DeGette from Colorado will chair the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations. Representative Mike Doyle from Pennsylvania will chair the Subcommittee on Communications and Technology. Representative Jan Schakowsky from Illinois will chair the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce. And Representative Paul Tonko from New York will chair the Subcommittee on Environment and Climate Change. I also want to point out, is she? Oh yeah, okay. The vice chair of the full committee, as elected by the committee Democratic Caucus, is Representative Yvette Clarke from New York. Congratulations, Yvette. And I now yield to our ranking member for any remarks or to call up the ranking members and the members of the subcommittees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll keep my remarks brief. In fact, I'll just thank you again for making your announcements, and I will announce our Republican leaders on each subcommittee. The Republican leader on the Subcommittee on Communications and Technology is its former Vice Chairman, Mr. Latta of Ohio. The Republican leader on the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce is the gentlelady from Washington State, Kathy McMorris Rogers. The Republican leader on the House Subcommittee on Energy is the former chairman of the full committee, Mr. Upton. The Republican leader on the Subcommittee on Environment and Climate Change is the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Shimkus. The Republican leader on the Subcommittee on Health is the doctor from Texas, Dr. Mike Burgess. And the subcommittee Republican leader on Oversight and Investigations is the honorable gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Guthrie.
All right, thank you so much. We only have a couple more things. I want to announce a hearing. I would like to announce that next Thursday we will hold a full committee hearing on the impact that the Trump shutdown is having on the affected agencies within the jurisdiction of our committee. In my opinion, it defies logic that hundreds of thousands of American workers are once again going to miss another paycheck this week. When this shutdown began, I never imagined that it would have lasted this long, and I think it's very unfortunate. And therefore, as part of our oversight responsibilities, and in order to learn more about how this shutdown is affecting the federal agencies, we'll be holding a full committee hearing next Thursday morning at 10 a.m. It's my hope that the Senate and the President will act before then and the situation will change. But so far that isn't the case. I had previously announced that our first 3 hearings would be held, and those will be postponed beyond next week. I never thought that the shutdown would still be going on when this committee had a chance to organize. And those 3 hearings, which will not be next week, but we will have soon after, are on climate change, the future of the Affordable Care Act, and the oversight of the Trump administration's family separation policy. They will still occur, but they will not be next week.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes, I yield to the Yankee member.
I don't believe we voted on the resolution.
I'm told that we don't have to, but if you want to, we can.
I didn't. I thought it was before as a resolution. It's fine with me, whatever you want to do.
I mean, my understanding is that, I guess I said it was a resolution, but it's actually just an announcement.
Oh, all right.
Okay?
That was the confusion. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Perfect. Are we,
Go ahead.
if I may,
I'll yield to the gentleman.
there's Mr. Long was asking if they've changed the House schedule.
My understanding is that the House schedule was announced, and I don't have it in front of me, that we were going to be here,
Oh, they
that
did.
you had canceled your retreat,
postponed it,
and that we were going to be in Monday at 6:30 and until Thursday.
Okay.
And
Thank
so
you.
that's why, pursuant to 7-day notice, we would have this hearing next Thursday.
Yeah, I think it was just a confusion. Originally, we
Yeah,
weren't
because
going
I'd
to have
asked my
votes on
staff just
Thursday.
a little bit ago if there'd been any announcements about votes next week. And they
Yeah, I think
had not
they've announced it.
clarified,
We
so,
didn't listen
okay.
to the colloquy, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
All right, unless there's any other business, this concludes the order of business for today. And without objection, committee staff is authorized to make technical and conforming changes to reflect the action of the committees embodying our rules. And without objection, the committee stands adjourned. What's that?